dogs, let me tell you about a friend. It's Craig LeBlanc where the good times never end. Talking Parks and Rec, it's a show you gotta know. Welcome one and all to the Daily Parks and Rec Show. It's the Daily Parks and Rec Show.
I would say that if someone thinks it's just like camps or sports, I would say go to your local park, township building, or just like any of your town events, and you'll realize that that has all to do with parks and recreation. Like, these people do not get enough credit within their communities. The biggest thing is building or like creating this community that everyone feels involved in, everyone feels like they can participate. And so like all these events, it all has to do with parks and recreation, and they don't get enough credit for that. Okay. Hi guys, Happy New Year, happy holidays to all who celebrate. Welcome back to the Young Professionals Network segment of the Daily Parks and Rec Show. As you can see, it's only Mike and I today. We do not have a guest. So we're just kind of gonna go over our experience with the internship so far, as we're coming up on the end of it, as well as some of our professional kind of personal goals for 2026 now that it's the new year. But before we get into that, we're just going to run our promos and we will be right back.
In today's parks and recreation industry, communication, safety, and efficiency go hand in hand. That's where Outdoor Link comes in, delivering smart technology that empowers city departments and community planners to do more, smarter. Outdoor Link's platform connects and automates everything that keeps your parks running smoothly, from lighting and locks to signage, water features, Wi-Fi, and digital advertising. Control and schedule park lights for safety and energy savings, remotely manage facility access, update digital displays in real time, coordinate fountains and splash pads, provide public connectivity, and even run community or sponsorship campaigns on digital screens, all from one simple, unified platform, giving you real-time control, data, and cost efficiency. For parks and recreation agencies, that means safer spaces, smarter resource use, faster responses, and stronger community engagement. And behind every great park story is great infrastructure. That's why Outdoor Link proudly supports DPRS Media Company, helping the Daily Parks and Rec Show amplify the voices of professionals shaping our communities every day. Outdoor Link, smart, connected solutions for parks, recreation, and beyond.
Are you a vendor, brand, or service provider ready to connect with the heartbeat of local communities? At DPRS Media Co., we tell the stories shaping parks and recreation across America. Through podcasts, live streams, videos, and newsletters, we reach frontline leaders, city directors, and decision makers every single week. From youth sports and facilities to programming and policy, our audience is your audience. Sponsoring or partnering with DPRS Media Co. puts your brand in front of the professionals who build, budget, and buy for their communities. Launching a new product? Growing your presence in public spaces? Targeting cities, counties, or departments? DPRS is your trusted media partner. Whether you're in software, turf, aquatics, robotics, smart cities, or special events, partnering with DPRS puts your brand in the story. With commercials, interviews, social campaigns, newsletters, and live shows, we're your media team. Partner with us and grow your impact in the $200 billion parks and rec industry. DPRS Media Co. Stories that move parks and rec forward. Your audience is here. Let's meet them.
Okay. So we do have a list of questions, and they kind of fall under different categories. So to start off, Mike and I are going to be looking back on the internship, kind of like questions that are more so focused on reflection and growth. So one of our first questions was, what were your expectations going into this internship, and how did the reality differ? So personally, I feel like it's been a great opportunity to grow professionally and create like a professional brand for ourselves, especially being really on top of our LinkedIn and like focusing on promoting ourselves a little more and reaching out to people. And then also, I feel like something I was not expecting is obviously to become like a little show host. That was not something that I thought about like when considering this. But I feel like learning so much about the broadcast journalism and marketing space in general, and then specifically in Parks and Rec, has been a very cool opportunity so far through this internship.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that something that as a marketing major in school, like that I never really thought about was like marketing myself on different platforms and stuff.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've had my LinkedIn account for so long now, but since freshman year, but I never really was active on it or anything like that. So, really being able to get active on LinkedIn was really big, and I've had a couple of opportunities through it already, which is awesome. But like Aidyn was saying, just being able to build a brand for myself on here. So I've been able to take these clips that we have from within the podcast that we've been running and able to edit them down a little bit and put them onto my LinkedIn, where we repost them every Thursday, all the ones that we do together. So just kind of creating that brand for ourselves out there. It's something that I never thought about, which is kind of crazy because we're marketing majors. So
Yeah.
I think
Well, that's
marketing
the thing. I feel like in school they like talked about LinkedIn. They said it's important to have just for like putting yourself out there professionally, because it's more of a professional platform or social media platform. But I feel like a great way to put it is like you are marketing yourself. So you might as well like push your content on there, and especially when you're doing things like an internship, I think it's super important to stay active on LinkedIn, and I think that's what we've definitely both learned.
Yeah, I also just never really looked at it as like a social media.
Yeah.
So like seeing it as a social media is kind of different too, because when I think of social media, I think of Instagram and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But LinkedIn really is a big piece of it's one of the bigger ones that I've actually learned about now, is that it's such a big social media platform.
Yeah, and I feel like it's like funny because now we have all these connections like across the whole like US basically, and it's like just funny to see like what they're up to, like what their Parks and Rec looks like. And originally none of us, or neither of us, really like knew much about Parks and Rec, which is kind of one of the questions. I know there's a question similar
We could
to
roll into that if you want.
Yeah. Let me see. So, what surprised you most about the industry once you were like on the inside?
Yeah,
So
I
I
mean,
guess this is kind of like both the internship and Parks and Rec in general.
yeah, I mean, I never really realized how important Parks and Rec is to a community, and I talk about it like every Thursday, but that when we have guests on and stuff. But like,
Yeah.
I never realized how important it really is for the communities that you live in. Whether that's just going and taking a walk at your local park, or the different fundraisers that they have, or anything like that. Like, it's just something that's so important to a community, and from sports to everything like that, it's just so important. And that's kind of what stood out to me, because growing up playing baseball, like I was at parks all the time, and I never took into account like all the hard work that goes into that. So that kind of is what stood out to me. It was like I kind of overlooked it my entire life, and just how important it was.
I think it for sure is an underrated profession, and I think it definitely is overlooked. So, what kind of skills do you think you gained from this internship that you didn't expect to develop? I
You go.
Okay. So I kind of said that, like I said earlier, like I was not expecting to be like a little show host kind of thing. Like I was not expecting that. But I think after a little time, like getting to know how to speak like online. Obviously, we're not perfect, but just like having more communication skills. Like I feel like we've developed a lot more communication skills, even just through like talking to each other and like scheduling. This being remote, like remote,
Yeah.
and like inviting guests on and like the reach out to guests and communicating with them through LinkedIn, and then having to completely run like a show as a host and communicate and carry a conversation the whole time. Like I think that was a big thing that I feel like I gained that I was not expecting, like as a skill to develop, because I feel like
Yeah.
communication is, I feel like everyone can communicate, but then there's like these different niche little like levels of it.
Yeah. I've had a couple interviews, and the thing that I talk about is like the big thing with this one was like event planning almost. Like we
Yeah.
were almost event planning for every Thursday at 5, right? So we were finding guests to come on and stuff like that. But the other thing that I thought about too was like all the interviews nowadays mostly are like online, like kind of like this. So this was kind of good practice almost for
Yeah,
the
that's true.
like I'm not nervous like setting up my camera or does my microphone work or stuff like that, and
Mhm.
also just being able to talk to people through a screen, right? It's not normal.
Yeah,
So
that's so
being able
true.
to do that, I think that's also one of those things that kind of probably gets overlooked with this, but that is something that has helped me in the couple interviews that I've had so far with since we started this.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think a lot of what people who watch don't understand, like this really is kind of like very small event planning, because we do have to reach out to people. We do have to set times and dates with them and make sure they have all the information and text them what questions could possibly be asked and stuff like that. And like preparing the questions itself, all while communicating with one another about what we're going to discuss, how we're going to like overlap the conversation kind of thing, when we're going to run our promos and all that kind of stuff. So it is kind of like a little event that we're choreographing a little bit.
Yeah.
But the aspects of talking to a camera and it being so important for like an interview, just being comfortable in front of a camera, that kind of goes into our next set of questions, which is skills and lessons you'll take forward. So one of the questions I have is, what's one professional skill you know you'll carry into any future job? I said, again, communication.
Yeah.
And I kind of talked about how luckily me and you are friends.
Yeah.
And so we spend a
Definitely.
lot of time together outside of this, and
Right.
we even discussed then. And so I think that's a pro, but then also that could be seen as a con, because we know each other so well. We might butt heads. I feel like we rarely did, but that definitely is something that like you
Yeah.
have to consider when going into a future job for sure.
I think that's something too is just like working with Craig, like he's across the country.
Yeah.
We're in Pennsylvania and he's in Louisiana. So it's like learning how to communicate through not being with the person all the time, right? Remotely. I think that's pretty big skill that we'll always have now is like learning how to work remotely. But also just communication skills, like you were saying, like even though me and you know each other very well, like when we have these guests on from all across the country, like that's like we're talking to people that we've never met before, and that's kind of not an easy thing to do.
No, yeah.
Especially like sometimes like there's awkward pauses and stuff like that. So learning how to kind of work through that kind of stuff, I think that's something that will take forever into any job that we go into, and
Mhm.
just life in general too. Doesn't even have to be professionally. Just
Yeah.
being able to talk to people, and that almost goes into like networking, right? We always talk about networking on here and how big that is for young people,
Mhm.
and like we kind of network too. Like we have these connections on LinkedIn. Like I'm sure if we ever needed anything out in Georgia, we could hit up one of the
Yeah,
people that we have.
that's what I'm saying. I don't think people realize like the amount of different professionals within Parks and Rec that we have both connected with over
We
the
have
past
good
few
relationships
weeks. Yeah, it's
like
crazy.
it's like a big networking thing. So I think that's also something that will take forward with us in our professional careers and just life in general. But
Mhm.
that answers that.
So then another question that I had, I wasn't going to ask this originally, but what advice would you give your past self before starting the internship? And I think both you and I were kind of just like, oh, like we have a lot on our plate right now, but you know what? Like an experience is an experience. We should take it, the opportunity while it's here. And I think like something I'm going to bring into any other opportunity when it presents itself is just like take it because you
Yeah.
learn so much regardless of how like prepared you think you are or like anything like that. So I think if I were talking to my past self about starting this internship or any internship in general, it's just like give yourself some grace. Like you're gonna mess up, you're going to be nervous and it's normal, but at the end of the day, that's just how it's going to be with anything you start. You just have to start. And so I
Yeah.
think has been like a good experience or a good opportunity to gain a lot of experience that we didn't necessarily know we needed. No,
Yeah,
but
no, I think like as college kids, right? Like we're so worried sometimes about like what other people think about us and stuff. So when we come on here once a week and we talk to a camera and a random person within Parks and Rec, like that's kind of vulnerable. So I think that when I started this, it was kind of I was nervous. So I think I would just tell myself kind of the same thing, like just do it. And taking like the first step's probably the hardest one to take, and then
mm,
I think that also like I was so worried to mess up when we were doing it,
oh
and like
yeah.
I have had a couple mess ups with like playing the advertisements and stuff, and it's like not a big deal, but like Craig really did a good job of like just telling us every time like, yeah, you guys did good and it's better than the last time, and
Yeah, you
just
always
continue
improve.
to yeah, he's always very positive with us and
Mhm.
lets us know that like you're gonna mess up in this, and it's kind of like everything that you do in life. There's probably gonna be a mess up, but Craig's been really good about that and keeping it positive and just telling us that if there is gonna be mess ups, but and mistakes, but we'll be good.
Yeah, and I think that like thinking about where I was when we were doing our first show without Craig. Like, do
Yeah,
you remember that? I was so nervous and I was
yeah,
like,
no,
and we had four different guests on from the city of Alpharetta. They were
yeah,
awesome. Like, they were so nice, so great to talk to. And even afterwards, they had said, like, this is such a great experience for you guys. Like, I wish I was doing this. And I think that was one of the moments where I was like, that's how I know like this is going to be good for me. Just like
yeah,
talking to all these different people and like just like hearing them say those things. It's just really impactful. I feel like kind of like inspiring or motivating, and just like makes me know that I'm on a good path.
yeah,
Um,
definitely. I agree.
so then, I guess for the last section of questions before we run our halfway promos, it's
Yeah,
gonna
but
be
this one's gonna be a little shorter.
oh
Uh,
yeah,
we
the
don't
show
have a guest and
itself.
everything, and since it's the holiday, so we're gonna run a little shorter one. So the promos will be around the 20-minute mark for the
Mhm.
halfway point, and then
So the next section of questions is just parks and recreation as a career path. So one of the questions was, what would you say to someone who thinks parks and rec is just summer camps or sports? Because I feel
yeah,
like we talked about this a lot.
yeah, like growing up, like we were both playing sports all the time, and you
Hmm.
were going to Pate's stuff, her sisters and stuff like that, and uh, I kind of hit on it earlier, like that's kind of all you think about is like sports, and you don't put the Parks and Rec part of it together.
Hmm.
But then kind of like as we talk to people, like you realize how much hard work goes into all that kind of stuff, and
Yeah.
finding sponsors and finding funding and everything like that that goes into it behind the scenes that we don't see when we're kids or when people are going to these parks that are perfectly well groomed and stuff like that, and they can
Right.
just go there freely. So I think that really understanding how much hard work goes into it,
Hmm.
stuff like that.
I would say that if someone thinks it's just like camps or sports, I would say go to your local park or your township building or just like any of your town events, and you'll realize that that has all to do with Parks and Recreation. Like, these people do not get enough credit within their communities because, like we always mention, like we've said like 3 times already today, like the biggest thing is building or like creating this community that everyone feels involved in, everyone feels like they can participate. And so like all these events, it all has to do with Parks and Recreation, and they don't get enough credit for that.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Which kind of goes into the next question of what type of people do you think thrive in this industry? So
I mean, I was gonna say, I feel like anybody could probably figure it out and thrive in it, but I feel like people that are really personable and can really understand what the community wants and stuff like that. I think that people like that will thrive in it, and people that can communicate and think outside the box, because some of like the events that they hold and stuff, like you have to think outside the box for it. That way people even want to come to it, if that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
I said, since it can be so broad, like Parks and Rec, like obviously we've learned like it's not just sports camps, like there's so much to it. I said, since it can be so broad, the answer will definitely vary, but I personally think people who do thrive or who would thrive most in this industry are the ones who truly care about community and just like bringing people together and just taking the time to learn what people want, learn what the needs of people are, and to problem solve for the sake of the community and making sure everyone feels involved, because that's not easy. You know what I mean? So someone who just cares.
Right, exactly. I totally agree. But I guess we'll go into our promos here. And
Yeah, that's fine.
all right, so we'll be right back. We're gonna run our halfway point promos. Take a watch.
Behind every thriving park, every safe playground, every event-ready field, there's a team working before sunrise and long after sunset. This is Facility Maintenance, the only show created for and by the unsung heroes of Parks and Recreation. Brought to you by DPRS Media Co., where real work gets real recognition. From restrooms to rec centers, HVAC to turf tech, we go beyond the job site into the heart of operations that keep our communities moving. Our mission? To elevate maintenance teams through stories, solutions, and shared experience. Our vision? A world where every facility crew is seen, valued, and fully supported. Each episode features operators, innovators, and leaders, sharing tools, tech, and tactics that make the impossible look easy. Facility maintenance isn't just a job, it's purpose, it's passion, and now it's a show. Facility Maintenance, where tools meet purpose, where work becomes legacy. On the Daily Parks and Rec Show, we bring you the real stories of tomorrow's professionals, people shaping the future, one idea at a time. Meet the very first DPRS interns to officially host their own segment, Aidyn, Tierney, and Morrow. With curiosity, passion, and a fresh perspective, they're stepping into the spotlight to lead meaningful conversations with today's rising leaders. The Young Professionals Network takes you inside the journeys, challenges, and major wins of young individuals making their mark across industries. From first jobs to bold ventures, every story fuels growth, ambition, and innovation. Each episode brings real conversations, fresh perspectives, and impactful insights created to motivate the next generation of professionals. Whether you're just starting out, exploring new paths, or figuring out your next move. Tune in to the Young Professionals Network every Thursday at 5 p.m. only on the Daily Parks and Rec Show. Don't miss it, because your next big idea might be one story away.
Okay. So one of the questions that I didn't realize we missed on that last section was, why do you think students don't often consider Parks and Recreation as a career? And we've definitely hit on this, especially with one of the guests recently. And I think it just comes down to genuinely a lack of knowledge on this field as a whole. Even
Yeah,
though everyone grows up like going to the parks and stuff, like no one really takes the time to learn about it, especially college students, because we're not told about it. Or like, I don't know, I don't have any classes regarding Parks and Rec or that even mention it slightly. So I think like a lack of knowledge is just a clear example. So hopefully our young professional network show is maybe sparking some interest in some college age students, but I think that would be the best answer for that.
yeah, I think so too. I think just going off of what you said, like we're both college students, and since I've started this, like I've been trying to figure out like where you'd even what would be your major? Like, do they have something in that field that you could go with? And there really isn't anything. And a lot of the people that we talk to, well, actually all of them, except for one,
Yeah.
really had an idea that they were going into, or they didn't have an idea that they were going to go into Parks and Rec, and they did like business in school or something like that along those lines, which kind of pushed them into the Parks and Rec once they got out. But I just think it's just such a lack of like exposure, kind of like you were saying, and like
Yeah,
you
for
just
sure.
don't know about it, right? Like going to school, um, there's nothing really for you there, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
In my personal opinion, I couldn't find anything at my university that I go to.
Yeah, I agree. So the next section of questions is new year, new goals, professional growth, which is so exciting because this is an exciting year for you, especially. Um, but more specifically, like what's one professional goal you're setting for yourself this year? I feel like I could guess, but
Yeah, I mean, I'm graduating this semester in
Mhm.
May, so the goal is obviously to find a full time job. Um, so I have a couple months to figure that out, but that's definitely the professional goal, is to find a role that I can work full time, and they can pay the bills and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
that's my
and who knows? Like maybe it'll be in Parks and Rec, because as we've
maybe.
learned, marketing is in Parks and Recreation. So you never know.
Yeah, exactly. And some of like the cities that DPRS has connections with, like
Mhm.
there could possibly be stuff there, which I've talked to Craig about a little bit, and that's always a cool idea that I have. But yeah, I think that's it. My goal. What's your goal?
I would say, because this year is the year that like I'll finish my junior year and then I'll go into my senior year, which is crazy. Um, but I think one of my professional goals, kind of professional in the sense of just going to school for like a career, if that makes sense, but
Yeah,
just learning everything I possibly can and just taking the time to truly understand certain concepts to better like benefit my future self. Because some of the things that I feel like we do learn in school or have been learning freshman and sophomore year, more specifically, have been kind of broad. But now that I'm in my last semester of junior year and then going into my senior year, I know that these things are going to be so important for me to like really pay attention, really focus. So I think I'm just going to try to learn everything as much as I can, as well as I can, and hopefully just set myself up like for success.
yeah. I think that's because, like, kind of like you said, like your first couple years, it's a lot of gen eds and stuff, and you don't
Mhm.
really care about them a ton, and it's hard to pay attention in them and stuff like that because you just have no interest in them. It's like taking high school classes again.
Yeah.
But towards the end, you're mostly in like all of your own, like your actual major and stuff. So that really has been a lot easier. Well, not easier, but it's a lot easier to pay attention and want to learn that stuff because at the end of the day, it probably is going to be what you do in life. So
Yeah.
you kind
So
of,
then the next question is, what skills do you want to intentionally work on in 2026?
ooh,
That's like very specific, but I said I like similar to the learning everything and being intentional with what I'm focusing on. I want to be more intentional about what I spend my time on. And maybe this could be considered like time management in a sense, but I think
Yeah.
as soon as we know it, I'll be in my senior year, you'll be graduated. And so I just want this year to be very intentional with how I spend my time.
Yeah, I think somewhat similar to that. I think just being present.
Yeah.
I think sometimes like, especially when you're at school and stuff, or you're young like we are, like you look forward to the future so much, and it's like crazy to say that like I'm like we're about to graduate college, like that's crazy. So I think just being more present and like enjoying where we're at, like we had a really cool opportunity to do this, so like just being grateful for this,
Mhm.
um, and then continuing like going into my last semester, like I just want to be grateful that I've been able to get through it and um, hopefully graduate with a degree after this semester.
Oh my gosh, you'll be fine.
But yeah, just being more present, and I think that's something that all young people and young professionals can kind of try to take into the new year is just being, like I said, more present because
Yeah,
at
because
our age, I think we probably all could work on that a little more.
yeah.
'Cause you're so close to uh, actual adulthood where you're buying houses and vehicles and having a family
Yeah,
and stuff like that. So I think that we sometimes maybe look forward to that more than we do just being happy with where we're at.
yeah, I think that's so true. I think it's a good piece of advice for anyone, honestly, but
Yeah.
especially people our age.
Yeah.
um, which it really is just so crazy that you're gonna be graduating. And for those who don't know, Michael Morrow is in fact dating my twin sister. And so, like the talks about what's gonna happen after college is just like so crazy because it really does feel like adulthood is right around the corner. It's scary almost, but
Yeah.
exciting.
It's a little nerve wracking, honestly,
Yeah,
uh, knowing that there's no more school in my future after this one.
yeah. No
After
more
this semester.
exams.
Yeah, by May, I'll have
Makes
no
you.
more.
It probably makes
final
you want to
exams.
work like so much harder because you're like, this is my last one. Like I can knock it out. Like it's gonna be good.
Yeah, I know. I'm more worried about like finding the actual job,
Yeah. Well.
because like at this point like I'm in a good spot to graduate, so
Mhm.
I'm kind of just stressed about finding that job. But yeah, definitely getting through school and having good grades and stuff is
If
important.
anyone watching knows
Yeah,
marketing people,
marketing.
let Michael Morrow know.
Yeah, reach out. My LinkedIn.
So, what's one risk or opportunity you want to say yes to this year? I'm assuming
Oh,
it would be a job opportunity.
yeah, probably. I would. Yeah, because I guess in theory you'd hope that you'd have a couple of offers.
That's true.
So you kind of are taking a risk by accepting one of them. I guess
That's
that would
true.
probably be what I hope my biggest risk is that I take this year. But yeah, I think that's definitely my answer there. What is your?
I I think, I mean, I kind of have already said yes to this, but my experience going into this semester and then finishing because I'm going to study abroad, I
Mm-hmm.
think that was a big kind of like risk and opportunity that I said yes to this
Yeah,
year, but even though I said yes to it last year. But I think that's going to be very exciting, a very different way to learn, but I think it's going to be good for me both professionally and like personally.
hmm
And I hope that I have an internship when I study abroad. So if I were to get offered something in Rome, that would be crazy, but that would be like a great opportunity to say yes to
yeah,
this year, I feel like. And then by the end of this year, like I'll be in my second half or going into my second half of my senior year. So I'm kind of hoping to be in a similar position to you as like hopefully I'm getting offers from companies and whatnot that I can weigh the pros and cons of, and like say yes to something like that. That
Yeah.
would be great. Like a great way to end the year. I don't know.
Well, for those of you guys that, well, I don't even think we've ever talked about it, but Aidyn's going to Rome in May to
Mm-hmm.
study abroad for a couple of weeks.
Yeah,
That's what she's talking about.
I'm very excited.
Yeah.
Yes.
What's that?
But my twin sister is coming with me, so I'll be okay. I think Michael is gonna have a harder time than I am, so
Yeah.
because I'll have my sister and he won't have her.
I know. But
Anyways.
I'll probably make a visit or two. Probably just one.
Yeah. All right, so then looking ahead, kind of even further, but then looking ahead and advice for listeners. So this is kind of geared towards anyone who might be interested in an internship like this. So it was kind of how has this internship helped clarify or change your career direction?
Yeah.
I feel
first, I would just say, first off, if there's anybody out there listening that's a young professional and you're looking for an internship, I know that they're going to be looking, they have been looking for at least two people that could possibly run this show and maybe another. So definitely reach out if you're interested. But yeah.
I think for specifically for like how this has impacted my career direction, like this definitely was a very helpful internship. I feel like I've learned a lot. Obviously, like we've said, we've made plenty of connections now.
Yeah.
I said I didn't necessarily change my mind about my career direction, but it definitely opened my eyes up to the possibilities within the field, because like we said earlier, like you just don't know how much opportunity is like in a field like parks and recreation until you're learning more about it and you take the time to like talk to everyone, and you do learn like there's like people do social media for parks and rec, like that's now becoming a big thing, and I think that is a good thing to know. So who knows, like maybe we'll both be in marketing for parks and rec.
Yeah, maybe. You never know.
And then this is kind of more of a college student question. What would you say to a college student who feels unsure about their future career?
I would just, I don't, you put me on a spot here.
I
Honestly, I would just say, I don't know. Just go with the flow and eventually something will stick. I think because I went into college as a communications major.
Mhm.
I wanted to be like a broadcaster for the Phillies or for the Eagles or something like that.
Mhm.
And then I kind of realized that like realistically, like nowadays, all the broadcasters and stuff like that for the big sports are like ex-players and stuff. So I think that like when I realized that, I was kind of lost where to go to, and I kind of tried a couple different places in business because I always loved learning about business and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And marketing kind of stuck. So I think just be open to everything and then just try everything. Something will stick.
Yeah, I think at some point everyone kind of feels that type of like unsure
Yeah.
kind of feeling about their career, just because you have so much going on around you. You have other people's opinions and all that kind of stuff. And then while you're in school, like I said, like the first 2 years, you're learning such a broad amount of information, specifically like in business, let's say, that like even myself, like my head turned when I was taking a risk and insurance class. Did I ever think I'd be interested in risk and insurance specifically? No, but now here I am as a marketing and risk and insurance dual major. So it's like
Right.
I think everyone kind of feels unsure about their future careers, but at the end of the day, you're going to find something that you like. Like you're
Yeah.
going to find something that you have interest in, and I don't know. I think I think good things are coming to people. Like I feel like for you, like there's no way you won't have a job. Do you know what I mean? Especially if you're working hard, especially if you're putting in the
Or knock on wood.
yeah, like you're gonna have a job.
I also think a big thing that if I could go back and do it all, would be just networking more.
Yeah.
Like I really think that I think that obviously college is important and getting a degree and everything, but I think that if you can connect with enough people that one person would give you an opportunity, I think that that's like the biggest thing that you could do. So if
Hmm.
you are stuck, maybe just try networking a lot and
Yeah,
really
talk
seeing.
to people.
Yeah, I
People
think
want
that's
to
like the
talk.
biggest thing that I've realized is like at the end of the day, like I'll have a piece of paper that says I went to college and I passed and everything, but like making those connections is what's really gonna end up getting me into a role somewhere, if that
Mhm.
makes sense. But
Yeah, for sure. So then our last segment, it's kind of just fun conversational wrap-up questions. Um, what has been your favorite memory from this internship? I'll go first. I'll go first. My favorite memory from this internship is going to be working with Michael Morrow. Guys, we never like worked together professionally. So I feel like it's been like a good time, and especially going into something that we said like we were a little uncomfortable with at first because you're just a little nervous and stuff. I think having each other has been nice because you always like know how, I don't know, one another is going to react to things, or you just like know the other person, so it just makes you feel better. So I feel like one of my favorite memories is just like being able to work with Morrow. And one of the hardest parts when we first got on with Craig was I said to Michael, I was like, oh my gosh, like I can't stop calling him Morrow or like what I normally call him. And then I'm like looking at him through the camera and I'm cracking up because I'm like, I can't do this professional thing with Michael Morrow. It's too funny. So I
yeah,
think that was just, it's just different, I feel like. And so I think that was one of my favorite things about
yeah,
the
I
internship.
agree. I think that it was a lot easier being able to work with you, and
Hmm.
I think that like the things that like we'll remember from this is like the laughs because like I remember like the first time we got on with Craig and he was like he made like a analogy about sailboating.
I know you were
It was
gonna
like
say
the
that.
first time we were like on together and
Yeah.
her grandfather goes sailboating.
Hmm.
So she started like cracking up through the camera and she muted herself and I saw it and I was trying not to laugh and then Craig picked up on that we were both cracking up and asked about it. But that and then there was also um, like the last like two shows, like the midway ads. For
Messing it
some
up.
reason, I mess them up, and after the first one, it pops us back onto the screen, and we're
Uh,
sitting there for like a couple seconds, and I just see her start cracking up, and it's fun. But I think that's like the memories that we'll remember about
yeah,
it, and
yeah.
like the funny parts.
Mhm. And
But
of
yeah,
course, all the lessons that we've learned, all the things that we've learned through the internship
and
itself.
the people that we've been with, I think that
Oh
everybody
my
that's been
gosh,
on has been really easy to talk to, and really uh, was it was awesome that they could come on and talk to us. But I
yeah. Mhm.
think that yeah, I agree with you.
And then last question, and then we'll close out for our. This was supposed to be a short, a
I know.
short show, but I guess we're just chatty. Where do you hope to see yourself by the end of this year?
Again, I guess just kind of in a role within a company that I can grow in. I
Hmm.
think that that's something that's big is like when I'm doing these interviews, like, and they ask for like the different questions at the end, I always am trying to figure out is there growth available in the company?
Hmm.
Because I wouldn't be motivated to work. I feel like in a place where you're stuck at ground level, and there's not much room to go after. So I think that I hope to see myself in a role where I am able to grow and work extremely hard to get there. But
Yay! It's gonna be so exciting to see where you go.
yeah,
I I would say for the end of this year, I just hope I stayed focused and just worked hard. I hope my grades were well for the semester that I was in, and that my senior year isn't taking a huge toll on me. And then hopefully one of the things that one of my goals for this year, I would really like to network more with people, because as we've said, it's just so important. And I think the older we've gotten, the more we realize how important it is. It's one of those things that I think we both wish we knew sooner, or just like did sooner.
Yeah.
So hopefully by the end of this year, I'll have plenty of more connections, talk to lots of people, get their opinions, get their experiences. And I think that's just an important thing to do in general. But then going into the professional world, I think it's important to see how different how other experiences are, and to kind of gauge where I want to be myself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. But I guess that kind of wraps it up, right?
Yeah, so 45 minutes.
I know, it went longer than I thought it was going to get.
Yeah.
You could have ran it normally.
Yeah.
But, well, thank you guys for watching. It was supposed to be a quick one, but we ended up being on here for 45 minutes. So I appreciate you guys watching. We hit 20 viewers live. I think that was the first time we did that. But thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys all have a blessed new year, and we'll see you guys next time. If I can hit the outro.
Welcome to DPRS Media Co., the first media company built for the people behind the Parks and Rec community. We don't just cover on Parks and Rec, we elevate it, we amplify it, we honor it. At the heart of everything we do is one mission: to serve the public servants, the professionals who design, maintain, and lead the parks that shape our communities. Under the daily Parks and Rec show, we produce 6 powerful platforms. Leadership in Parks and Rec, a spotlight on directors, superintendents, and visionaries shaping the future of public spaces. Facility maintenance, where the boots hit the ground, a deep dive into the systems, crews, and craftsmanship that keep our parks clean, safe, and beautiful. Young Professionals Network, shining a light on the next generation of Parks and Rec. Students, interns, and mentors sharing how we build a legacy together. Youth Sports Mastery, sponsored by National Academy of Athletics. This series is for coaches, parents, and rec leaders working to make youth sports fun, fair, and meaningful again. The Rec Room, hosted by the passionate leaders of Henry County Parks and Rec. This show brings frontline energy and real-life stories from the field. And the weekly Parks and Rec Post, our official newsletter delivering stories, insights, and community wins every week. We are DPRS Media Co., LLC, a media company with a mission to uplift the professionals who serve every community, every park, every day.